Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch, and today I want to talk about Indian Wells and some of the biggest things that have been going on the men's side so far. I want to talk about some of the biggest upsets so far, some of the biggest matches so far, etc., etc. Thank you guys for joining in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as always, for Anthony's Tennis Hub. I know a lot of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed, so please don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell to get caught up with more videos as well. Alright, so into Indian Wells, to talk about some of the biggest matches that have happened so far. Here are the seeds that are out as of when I record this video. I'm recording it midway through the third round at the moment. We have Rublev, who's the 5th seed. We have Hurkacz, who's the 8th seed. Khachanov, the 15th seed. Bublik is 20th seed. Cerundolo, Fokina, Jari, Struff, Musetti, Greek Sport, Echeverry, and FAA, Felix Auger-Aliassime. They are all out of the event so far. And I want to talk about some of the matches that have happened so far. I've got a chance to watch a few of them. I've looked back and watched a lot of the replay of a lot of them and kind of looked into what happened, all of these matches. I want to talk about them, some of the biggest matches that happened. So, Rublev versus Lehecka. Lehecka is a young guy that I think is probably overshadowed by the rest of his generation at the moment in a large way. But he's a big, talented player, big hitting dude. And he's a confident, fearless guy. And he can have a big performance like this. He took a set off Djokovic at the United Cup. He got to the final of an event, one of the Australian events, I believe, at the start of the year in January. I forget which one it was. But, yeah, so he got to the final of Adelaide, beat Draper in the final, and got his first title there. So, and that was impressive. And now he beats Rublev, 6-4, 6-4. This was comfortable. This was comfortable from Lehecka. He had 31 winners. Last year against Rublev, he only won 6 games. Last year was really his first year on tour, pretty much. At United Cup, I believe, was one of his first tournaments that he had ever played. I believe he beat Zverev in his opening match, and he was very impressive. And Lehecka, very impressive here, beating Rublev 6-4, 6-4. Rublev been a little bit on and off this season. He's had a few matches where he's lost to guys that you don't usually see him losing to, like Jakub Mensik, who played a fantastic match in Doha to beat him. Lost a set to Shang earlier in the year. There are a few matches where he's a little bit on and off. When usually he's so consistent at beating these guys who are outside the top 10, 20 in the world, pretty much at a whim, just all the time, can beat these guys. But loses in straight sets to Lehecka. And Lehecka only lost 2 first serve points throughout the entire match, 93% first serve points won. First game of the match was really sluggish from Rublev. It was a double fault at 15 love, then a sluggish forehand into the net. A great attacking forehand from Lehecka that really just completely caught Rublev off guard. Lehecka was really the pace generator in this match. And then a forehand that Rublev killed to try to go for a winner really early in the rally. Missed completely wide, and it's 1-0 Lehecka. Really sluggish game early. Rublev keeping a lot of balls short. And Lehecka doing so well at dictating, like I said, and staying on top of the baseline. And the serve +1, usually with the forehand. He did well to get a lot of forehands in this match. And he was just dictating. Also coming to net a lot. It's even some serve and volley, and that was working. And Rublev was just... He looked sluggish. His movement was a little bit off, it looked like to me. And Lehecka was just so aggressive. He really became Rublev in this match. He and Rublev seemed like they traded places a bit. In the match, it showed that some stats for the match, they have the the forehand quality stats now. And it shows that last 52 weeks, Lehecka was 7.7. Against Rublev, he was 9.6. So, big jump there. Big jump. Lehecka doing so well to get great width of shot as well, just so consistently, even from tough positions, finding lots of great angles, redirecting his balls well off backhand and off forehand. I mean, his forehand was the big one in this match, but listen, the backhand really came in clutch in a lot of big moments. And Lehecka hit a fantastic forehand return that set up a backhand winner cross court. The first point of the second set. Then a backhand return winner down the line off of Rublev's subpar second serve. Rublev, one of his biggest weaknesses is that second serve, which allows a guy like Lehecka, who is confident and is willing to take it on and just attack, to really take advantage of that. And it was a great backhand return down the line. The crowd was like, man, if you didn't know who was world number 5, you would have thought it's Lehecka, really. And that's what it felt like while you were watching the match. At 15:30, has a very impressive rally from defense to offense. Rublev really attacking, one of the first points where he does. And out of nowhere, Lehecka accelerates on a backhand cross court, which gets an error out of Rublev, really impressive. Then a sensational backhand pass ends off an exquisite game at 1-1. Lehecka hit a great forehand return of serve off a big serve. And Rublev kind of hits this kind of awkward off the rise shot down the line. But he doesn't really get it down that outside line. He really just kind of scoops it up. Lehecka on the full run hits a backhand screamer down the line as Rublev probably doesn't close the net in enough. So all of Rublev's weaknesses really coming to play. And, I mean, it was just really absurd stats that you don't really see out of a Rublev match. Like I said, 31 winners from Lehecka, just 8 for Rublev. So it was not great. So he gets broken again in the second set. And it's just not a great sight to see for Rublev, getting broken his first service game of both sets. And Lehecka time and time again was hitting the out wide serve on the do side and the ad side, but especially on the ad side. And I can't for the life of me understand why Rublev didn't make any kind of changes to his serve position or any kind of switch ups. He kind of just did the same thing. He should have almost started guessing. It was unbelievable how many times Rublev got caught off guard with the out wide serve, and he nearly never returned it back in play. Lehecka was serving great, fantastic, but I can't believe how many times Rublev was unable to return the out wide serve, because that's where Lehecka was going to. I feel like 80-85% of the match is hard out wide, and it felt like Rublev was guessing the other way every single time. It was pretty crazy to see. And even to serve it out, it's Lehecka who finds himself as the superior pace generator as he pummels a forehand most would have played as a rally ball. It's a backhand error wide that he hits to get to 30-all, maybe a little bit of nerves. But then he hits 2 service winners out wide for the umpteenth time in the match, really, including an ace on match point out wide where Rublev couldn't get a racket on. It's 6-4, 6-4. Lehecka was dictating. He was serving big. I don't know why Rublev couldn't really return that out wide serve. But listen, Rublev probably doesn't really like it very much when he can't dictate. You see that against Jannik. And Lehecka really played amazing. His athleticism was fantastic too. And like I said, just a great width of shot, being able to dictate, being able to follow it up with net play as well. He had all the shots. The return of serve was good as well. And Rublev's backhand, his transition game weakness, some of those things really, and also his returning in this match was subpar. So those are some of the things that really made it so that Lehecka could stand out. Also sluggish movement from Rublev here. I don't know really what it was, but that's kind of what it was. And Lehecka gets the win. And I still am gauging what I think of Lehecka. I'll be honest. I don't know yet. I want to watch more matches of him. I want to see how he does in the biggest moments. It's very hard to tell now. But, you know, he's somebody to watch. He's had a good season so far. Already picked up a title. I think he's going under the radar. I think I said that in my draw preview as well. I had him as a dark horse, so I had him as a dark horse. Speaking of, Monfils versus Hurkacz. This was, I think, Monfils leading 2024 version of Hubert Hurkacz 6-0, 6-7, 4-0 is the strangest scoreline we're going to see all year. Point blank period. I think that it's one of the craziest things I've personally seen watching tennis, and that's a big statement because you see a lot of crazy things watching tennis. It's just the 6th bagel match that Hurkacz has experienced at tour level. Just the 7th bagel that he's had overall at tour level. He lost a double bagel at the US Open to Cilic 1 year in 2018. One of the bagels that he previously had lost Hurkacz was to Monfils, so I don't know exactly what it is, but Hurkacz was very poor. 51% of first serves in. He went 17 for 40 on second serve. Even in the second set, Hurkacz was up a break twice and lost both. He basically just couldn't find a forehand in the court. I like Hurkacz. I picked him for year-end number 5. I like Hurkacz. I like Hubie. And I think he's more than just a serve. Medvedev said it as well. I think Hubie is more than just a serve. And you see it in points like in this match where he hits 2 tweeners in the same rally, or he has great net skills, or he hits a great backhand, like we see from Hubie, or he just is competing so well. I like Hubie, but his forehand lets him down. And it's the fact that you want, as the top guy, for your forehand to be a weapon. It's not just a weapon. It's a gaping hole. It's a weakness that people can push into and it breaks down. And it struggles to find the court sometimes. Like in this match, and he threw the racket. I don't see why he shouldn't have. It was poor. It was disappointing from Hubie. Had never lost the opening round match at Indian Wells. But that being said, Monfils played nearly perfect. It was sensationally good tennis. Listen, if you thought Monfils, who's turning 38 in September, is done, yeah, watch this match. He played perfect. It was amazing. He was playing aggressive, staying on top of the baseline, but he wasn't overhitting. He was serving fantastic. He broke Hurkacz 7 times, 6 for 13 on break points converted. And it was just one of those matches, so utterly aggressive, but also on the defense, getting balls back when he needed to. And Hubie from the back was just unloading on so many errors so early in rallies as well. So that wasn't great, but Monfils just played nearly flawless. Also, just a weird stat. In the last 4 matches, Hurkacz has lost a bagel, including this one. He's also won a set in that match. So, don't know what that means, but this was the first bagel that Hurkacz had received since 2021. And it comes to world number 54, Monfils. He's looking to crack the top 50. That's something, he hasn't been as high as number 51 in the world. He'll be at least that high come the next week that the rankings update. Yeah, Hubie loves hardcourt masters, but Monfils does as well. And Lamont, he's getting it done. Love to see that from Monfils. What a win. It was a lot of fun to watch. Great shot making, as we're used to for Gale. And Hurkacz was completely and utterly outplayed. And as I'm recording this, Monfils is actually playing Nori, so I'm kind of curious what their score is. I'm going to look that up here real quick. But I also want to talk about the FAA versus Alcaraz match. That one was much less tight than the Monfils match. It was just a 2-set match, but I thought it was pretty compelling of a match, seeing how Alcaraz is. Alcaraz played a good match against Arnaldi in the first round. Not great in the first set. Loads of errors. But in the second and third sets, he just dialed it back and just played incredibly well. Athletic, aggressive, but not crazy with it. Solid. And then he gets Felix. And in the first set, both guys are serving amazingly well, over 70% of first serves in, but Felix winning 47%, Carlos winning 82% of first serve points, which really shows how important that second serve points one stat is. Because, listen, it's great to get that many first serves in. That means you won't be hitting a lot of second serves, but that's a big difference to be winning 47%. As opposed to 87. And then just going over what kind of happened in the match, Felix played pretty poorly, to be honest. It was a bit unfortunate. At 2-2, it was a double fault that Felix hit, then a shot just a little bit too short in central. Alcaraz blasts a cross-court clean winner forehand, then a poor +1 forehand error, and a poor +1 backhand in the net. Just loads of errors from Felix. I mean, Felix is a guy who people think of as the indoor hard courts guy. I will actually disagree. I think right now indoor hard courts is his best surface. That's where he gets the most confidence. But also, I hope that he can play well on grass courts, and I think he can do well, even if it's not his best surface, on slow hard courts, on clay courts. I hope that he has more to him than just the indoor hard courts guy. But the thing is that at the moment, he basically can't sustain the level for an entire match, let alone usually an entire game or a set. or let alone a tournament, which is what he's really aiming for, what all these players are aiming for. A guy like Djokovic and Sinner, they're aiming to play well pretty much throughout a whole season. Or if they're not playing well, figure out a way to win the matches anyway, which is something that Felix just can't do at the moment. Even if he's playing a poor level, he can't seem to switch things up or find a way to do things better. And that's really hurting Felix. Really hurting Felix. And he'll hit a really impressive shot, a really impressive point, not just the serve, a really impressive point, athletic point, a great backhand, a great forehand, whatever it is. He's complete on his best day. Felix Auger-Aliassime, to me, is pretty complete on a best day. The backhand can still break down pretty easily, but on a best day, he's a pretty complete player. Here's the thing. His best day only happens at the moment once in a blue moon. And it's sad. And I really want Felix to pick it up. I've been following Felix since the Challengers. I've been rooting for this guy. And I still have faith in this guy. But he needs to pick it up. And he needs to do something different. I don't know if it's the coaching or what it is, but he needs to figure something out. And he'll play a really amazing point, and then he'll play a very poor point, just the very next point. And this was a collage of poor points. First point of the match, Carlos kind of sets the tone. They play a big rally going forehand back and corner to corner. Carlos kind of smartly builds the point, mostly aggressive to Felix's backhand. And he does what he needs to do to stop Felix from being the aggressor. Felix does lead the head-to-head before coming into the match, 3-1. They played at Indian Wells last year. A very good straight sets match, actually. Felix played quite well, but Alcaraz played unbelievably well. And but this year Felix didn't play very well. And now it's 3-2 for Carlos. But the reason Carlos hasn't liked playing Felix that much is that Felix is able to play aggressively and catch Carlos out. That's part of it. And he does what he needs to stop Felix from being the aggressor. He's playing aggressive, but also smartly building the point. Then he gets a winner forehand inside in, down the outside line. Carlos in general playing a very smart match. I feel like maybe the Arnaldi win is what Carlos needed to come back. It's almost a bit poetic in a way. Arnaldi, a very young, talented shot-making dude, loses the first set, probably a set he should have won. And then 6-0, 6-1 in the second and the third. And maybe that moment is the moment Carlos starts figuring something out. We'll see. But anyway, Carlos just hanging back. Not many unforced errors. Just waiting for Felix to swing and miss. At 4-2, love 40. Alcaraz has won 15 of the last 17 points. It just errors nonstop from Felix. To start the second set, it was a wild forehand, a wild backhand, a double fault. And then a nice attacking backhand from from Carlos, as Felix is unable to guard the net well enough, and then it's just a break. For Carlos, it's a better hold to love to go 1-2 for Felix in the second set, but just shots you can't afford, such as that 2-1, 40-30, as Felix is climbing back into the game. He hits his first ground stroke in a neutral rally on the Carlos serve, out, after Carlos gifted him a swinging volley at 40-15. He thought maybe Felix is going to start doing something, but he just hits a neutral backhand out. And just solid high percentage serves from Carlos off into that Felix backhand. Felix just not hurting him at all. Then Felix to go up to 30-all at 1-3 down, wins his 10th first serve point, while Carlos has already won 20. Then another simple backhand error for the umpteenth time. Felix saves a break point with a Carlos missing a forehand cross court to an open court for a passing shot. Then he hits an ace down the tee to save another. Then a good serve and good defending off the backhand. He makes it 3-2, does Felix. But just too many good signs. There's still a few good signs for Felix, but it's just too many errors, and it's not his favorite conditions either. But Carlos basically runs away with the match from there, and just too many errors from the Felix side. Good serving, smart playing from Carlos, doing what he needs to be aggressive without overplaying, figuring out when to really peak his play without going at 500% the entire match. That's what Carlos needs to stray away from. So, so that's kind of what happened in the match. And Alcaraz is through to the next round. And he will have Morazan, who Morazan beat him in Rome last year. Really excited for that. Morazan very similar to Alcaraz. And it's an exciting tournament to see if Alcaraz can find his form again. And listen, I think Alcaraz will like his draw quite a bit, because I'll tell you what. Or no, okay. No, well, I forgot. He doesn't have Khachanov. Morazan has replaced Khachanov, but he'll like that, most likely. Khachanov's very tough. He just won a title as well. But Morazan can cause problems. But then after that, he'll have Zverev or de Minaur, so that could be tough in the quarterfinals as well. Alcaraz has a tough draw. And then speaking of Khachanov as well, he was one of the top seeds to go out so far in the event, and one of the most in form as well as the third highest seed to lose so far, behind Hurkacz and behind Rublev. But he kind of went out with a whimper. No one's really talking about Khachanov. I think he likes playing at this Sunshine Double. I don't see why these conditions don't work well for him. He just lost pretty comfortably, reached the Miami semis last year, lost to Medvedev in 3 sets. Lost to Thiago Seyboth-Wieltsch in 6-1, 7-5. Seyboth-Wieltsch losing to Morozov 6-2, 6-2, but before that he was destroying everybody in the tournament. I believe he came through qualies to get in at all. And he did get through qualies. But yeah, it's just totally crazy. He beat Adam Walton 6-1, 6-3. Then he beat Liam Brody 6-1, 6-1. Then he beats Khachanov. They both won 44.4% as second serve points exactly. But Wieltsch served 68% of first serves in, while Karin won 53, which shows how big even 15 points differential is there. Karin was just incredibly poor in the first set. Something was just off. Absolutely wild errors and decisions. The forehand was way off kilter. He was just letting Wieltsch play, who can be a great athlete and has a really impressive skill on the forehand, on the slice. Just really fun to watch. The entertainment value is high with Wieltsch. But it was night and day how Karin played in the second set. Served miles better. Only lost single-digit points until it was 5-5, 40 love. Single-digit points on serve. Basically holding to love many of the games of the second set until it was 5-5, 40 love. Then the forehand, once again, like in the first set, completely lost itself out of nowhere. 2 easy forehands in the net, a nervy double fault in the middle of the net. Wieltsch now 2 points away. A third into the net at deuce. Then a great rally ends with a drop shot of Wieltsch's showing his full skill set. And a big roar from him after this to break at 6-5 with the drop shot. 3 big serves down the tee, 2 aces, and it's done. Wieltsch just turned 24 yesterday, actually, as I record this on March 11th. So I don't know, maybe somebody to watch. He played crazy in this to begin this tournament. He has a big, large skill set, does Seyboth-Wieltsch. I think Khachanov will be back. I hope Khachanov will be back. He shows a few good signs, but I just don't know. He reached the top 10 for a week last year, but is he going to sustain his place as a top 10 guy? I think it's up in the air. I think it's a little bit up in the air. There's a lot of great players right now who probably have bigger weapons to consistently beat top guys, maybe more than Karin. As much as I like Karin. But we'll see how Karin can do. Tsitsipas Tiafoe, the first set was horrific from both. Shelton Cerundolo was also not a pretty match either. Just first on Shelton Cerundolo, 7-6, 7-5 in the third set. It really came down to a nervy forehand error from Cerundolo at 5-5 in the tiebreaker. It was 111 points each, as tight as it gets. Both doing good on serve, mainly to do with Shelton's serve and probably lack of a return game really at this point. But 24 winners each. 42 errors, 46 errors. It was poor. It was tough. But anyway, Ben Shelton's through. He'll face off against Jannik. But even though he beat Jannik in Shanghai, this is going to be, I think it's a different story here. And also, I think Sinner, probably at that point more than any, he was probably a little bit tired coming into that match. It was still a fantastic win. I don't even want to give it a huge asterisk, but I do want to say at this point, with Sinner's momentum, I don't think Shelton will have much, but he's also a talented guy, and he has the confidence necessary to compete with a guy like Jannik, even after Jannik's won the last 17 matches that he's won. But, okay, so Tsitsipas versus Tiafoe, it was kind of hilarious. Yeah, if you were watching the commentators, I don't know, if you have Tennis TV, I recommend you look up the Tsitsipas Tiafoe match, because the commentators Jesus, Tsitsipas is really letting Tiafoe hang around. These guys can't make a ball into the court. They were just saying, man, this is bad play. And I was just wow. And it's not bad, obviously. These are two world-class players. It takes a lot of skill to even, and intensity and great play, obviously, to get even to where you can compete with either of these guys. But for their standards, the play in the first set was just horrific. So many shanks, So many errors, so many weird shots and weird shot choices from both. Coming to net at weird points, hitting a forehand volley instead of a backhand volley. So many shanks. Steph absolutely gifting Tiafoe after leading the set 5-1. Francis just way out of sorts. It was 11 winners to 21 unforced errors altogether in the first set. Both guys making 52% first serves in. That's Steph, by the way, making 52% first serves in. And Tiafoe making just 60% first serves in. All the quality we were lacking in the match came out in a fantastic rally at 2-1 deuce. As Steph retrieves a lob and hits a forehand passing shot, hands in the air, great shot. But Steph mostly in control of this match, and he's playing pretty poorly as well, but Tiafoe is just way out of sorts. Defending semifinals points lot from last year, but just couldn't do anything. At 4-3, 40-30, Steph in cruise control, despite both playing just minusculely better, a little bit better. But Steph barely misses an overhead, misses one just long and wide, off a Tiafoe return of serve, which again, the fact that Steph is missing an overhead, that shows that something's wrong with Tsitsipas. Steph doesn't really love playing at Indian Wells either, but this was a straightforward win. I believe it was 6-3, 6-3. But Steph misses an overhead. I tend to think that Tsitsipas has the best overhead on tour. Tsitsipas just doesn't miss overheads. I really think he has maybe by far the best overhead on the tour. Maybe at one point I'll make a list for players who have underrated shots, like maybe not what's the best shot on tour, because most of those will go to like Alcaraz or Djokovic, but Medvedev as well. But I might do like underrated forehand or underrated overhead, underrated lob, which I would give to like Casper Ruud, for example. I think has an underrated lob. Underrated retrieval drop shots, Tiafoe, who I think is so good moving up and down the court and has underrated foot speed. Like I might do a list like that at some point. I would definitely give it to Steph for overhead. He does not miss overhead smashes. He misses one here, where it's a weird choice to take it out of the air, pretty much out from inside the service box. Off a return of serve. Tiafoe just hits like a lob return of serve at 40-30. Anyway, Tiafoe gets the 2 break points. This is maybe Tiafoe's chance to really dig his nails into the match. On the first one, Tiafoe misses a forehand return off a big serve, really just kind of going at himself after he was really fist bumping and trying to show, I'm going to get back into this match, but he just misses one. And then another forehand error with Steph in control of the rally. Kind of a strange point. Tiafoe hits this kind of 360 return of serve, and it looked really flashy. It looked like he was getting into the rally from defense to offense, but then just misses a poor forehand. And that forehand is way out of sorts from Tiafoe. And that forehand and having the confidence off that forehand, hitting big off that shot, I think is really what is the cornerstone of Tiafoe's game. And that's what it was working really well for him. One of the things. During that big streak from about the US Open to Stuttgart last year. So I don't know. I really think Tiafoe's out of sorts. I worry that he's not going to get to the heights that he was at once again. And I don't think it happened in the US Open match against Shelton either. I felt like even at Wimbledon, he really wasn't himself. I really felt like Stuttgart and getting into the top 10, ever since he got back in there, he really dropped off. I like Tiafoe in lots of ways, and he's a big talent. Clearly a flashy guy, and he brings in crowds, and that's great. I worry. I worry for Tiafoe, honestly. But he's had points where he's gotten high up in the rankings, then dropped off. And he did have a year of really good success. Maybe it's just a little period of time where he's slowed down a little bit. So let's see what happens, but I do worry, to be honest. Drop shot in the net at match point says it all for Tiafoe. Just a poor drop shot in the net. Tiafoe unable to defend. Semifinal points. Just go over a couple other things that happened here. Just a full rundown of some of the biggest points so far, some of the biggest matches. Feast beat Fokina, Arthur Feast. Great win for Feast. Love watching Feast play. One of my favorites to watch now, to be honest. Big talent of a player. Fokina honestly just let Feast hit way too many forehands and just too many errors from Fokina, who's really struggled recently. He's been really up and down and been struggling a lot. He's not the guy who can't lose to guys below his ranking. Fokina loses a lot of matches like this, and pretty comfortable for Feast, to be honest. It looked like Feast was the one seeded, and honestly, he may as well have been. He probably will be the one seeded in the future. Jari lost to Morazan. Will be a good match versus Carlos. Morazan versus Carlos. Some good matches coming up. Paul versus Humbert. Medvedev Korda, Ruud Feast. So those are going to be some good matches coming up. Another thing, Casper Ruud is winning his matches. If I go to Ruud's kind of draw here, Ruud beat Klein, and he's got Feast next. And listen, Ruud is now 14-3 on hard courts this year so far. We've only played like 2 months. 14-3. He was 14-14 the entire year last year. We've played 2 months, and he's at 14-3. So shout out to Casper. Shout out to Casper, who's doing great. And then what else happened? Just a few other matches to go over here. Shapo versus Musetti. Shapo led 4-2, a break in the third set. Musetti played a great game to come back, but also Shapo doing Shapo things. Shapo doing Shapo things. I mean, this is another guy who, it's like Felix. It's like FAA. He'll play a brilliant point one point and then very poor the next. And it's this kind of immaturity that really brings him back. I also look at the similar things with like a guy like Talon Griekspoor. Like, all these guys are talented, but it's just being able to, you know, perform that every single point. And I'll talk about Griekspoor's Zverev just very briefly as well. But Musetti began the game with a brilliant banana shot pass down the line at 4-2 in the third. Then a double fault, a forehand the net from Shapo. Shapo brought it back to 30-40. He should have brought it back to deuce. Once again, leading 4-2. It should have been deuce. He could have won this match like 6-2, 6-3. But a Hail Mary, absolutely miraculous forehand get off a forehand volley from Shapo down the line. Musetti just scrambling. Miracle he got this back. Hits a lob that goes pretty much right on top of the baseline. Not even perfectly clear it's going in, but it is going in. It's pretty clear on the replay. But Shapo just goes absolutely full speed with the overhead and hits it into the top. The tape goes back and aside, and Shapo's so frustrated. Can't blame him. Absolutely can't blame him. And then at 5-5, a forehand shank, a horrific volley into the net right on top of it from Shapo. A double fault gets him to break point. He gets back to advantage, but then he misses a one-hander and 2 poor volleys, and Musetti has broken. A missed one-handed backhand, 2 poor volleys, and he gets broken at 6-5 after he led 4-2 up a break. And just Shapo things where it's just the inconsistency for Shapovalov. It's just so tough. Dennis, one of the more talented teenagers on the tour. Musetti, one of the more talented youngsters coming up now, only at 21 years of age. Both flashy, talented one-handed players. Both guys desperate in needs for a win, so this was a very compelling match. It was very close to the end. But Musetti serving at 6-5. He serves it out at love with 3 classic Shapo forehands into the net, not even going for a whole lot. And also an ace from Musetti, sandwiched somewhere in between there, but between those poor Shapo forehands. So Musetti gets the win. He's in the third round. Good for Musetti. He needs those wins. And just tough for Shapo yet again. Just can't find the success. And I just feel like shot selection and the solidness is just missing from Shapo so much. Even when he's getting leads and chances in these matches, he just can't really put these matches away. Talking about Griekspoor, Griekspoor should have won the first set against Zverev. He would have had great chances. Zverev doesn't love Indian Wells. I said it on my Indian Wells draw preview. Zverev, this is the only Masters tournament where Zverev has not reached the semifinals, so he'll get a chance to do that this year. But he's also never reached the quarterfinals twice at Indian Wells. He's done that at every other Masters event. Griekspoor was up 6-4 in the tiebreaker. He lost it 9-7. This was after a magnificent set point save also, playing purely on survival instinct. Maybe the best point that I've watched in the tournament so far, where Zverev hits a cross-court forehand that really should have been a winner. But Griekspoor miraculously gets the volley back in play and wins the point with a backhand volley winner. But Zverev wins the first set 9-7. Griekspoor again had chances to go up a break and get the second set midway through the second set, but just some poor shots when it counts. And he can play brilliantly and show his skill set so much, even for games at a time, but then he's just not really a top 20 guy at the moment. It's going to be hard for him to climb if he can't get the consistency where it's not a fantastic shot, then a very poor shot, fantastic shot, then a very poor shot. It shows some immaturity on his end, just the way he plays. By root for Griekspoor, because I think he's one of the most underrated players in terms of entertainment value. He's surface versatile. He's a pretty complete player as well, but it's just the inconsistency of hitting these poor shots. And in this match, he did choke a bit in the first set where he got nervous. He got nervous during the first set at points where it counted the most. And 2 set points gone and wasted. Zverev moves ahead. He'll have a very tough match against de Minaur. Even though Zverev is the higher seed, I don't know if most people would even consider Zverev the favorite there. Let's see what de Minaur can do, because de Minaur is one of the most informed guys at the moment. Sinner Struff. Sinner played nearly perfect. Actually, according to AI, he played 9.9 forehand quality. It was 9.8 backhand quality at one point as well. 9.9 is apparently the highest. I'm not an AI, I think, but I can also say that Sinner played nearly flawless. His forehand, incredible. Backhand, incredible. 17 matches in a row. Struff coming to net and doing pretty well getting to the net, but Sinner hitting so many great passing shots. I think Struff won less than half of the net points he did. Struff is a net rusher, an aggressive player, but Jannik was able to dictate, and the fact that Struff's backhand is much lower quality than Sinner's really made it so that Jannik was really able to dictate, get that cross court over the lower part of the net, and just be able to dictate from backhand to backhand, then open up the court with different angles to get the forehand, get great width off his shots, and create angles. And Struff is a little bit inconsistent, too inconsistent, and he was just barely able to do anything on the Sinner serve. Obviously, he was serving great, but Jannik's return just so good. Sinner's won 34 of his last 36 matches. He's got the best second serve return on the tour, and it was really troubling Struff, who's a great server and not a great returner, but Sinner played nearly perfect, and he'll have Shelton next. I don't even think Shelton will have much for Sinner. Sinner says, bring me on Alcaraz, bring me on Djokovic. I can take on anybody at the moment. I think he's the best player in the world. He is the best player in the world. He's won 34 of his last 36 matches, beating Djokovic 3 of the last 4 times he's played, won the last major that was played. So I think Sinner is the best player in the world. And he's won the last 17 matches. Djokovic is going to be tough in this tournament, though. And he's got experience at winning Indian Wells, and he'll be looking for revenge. And Djokovic looking for revenge is tough. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if Sinner can carry on the momentum or if Djokovic can kind of take it back. It's going to be really compelling. I personally go with Djokovic. I've watched too much of the Big 3, Big 4 era and see how these guys operate, and Djokovic isn't going to take it lightly. And I think he's going to come back with new strategy, with new things to do, and I think he's going to try something out to kind of switch up the head-to-head, and I think that's what we're going to see. But Jannik's playing amazing, and we'll see if he can keep the win streak going, because if he wins in Indian Wells, Sinner loves playing in Miami, and if he wins Indian Wells, I reckon he also wins Miami, to be honest, because he'll be so confident. And 2 of the 3 times Sinner's played at Miami, he's reached the final. The other time, he retired against Francisco Cerundolo because he was injured, 4-1 the first set. Had a great chance to reach the final that year as well, so Sinner is crazy in Miami. That might be his best tournament. And if he wins Indian Wells, this might be the important one for his win streak to keep going until the clay court season. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be really interesting. But Sinner playing nearly flawless. I'm looking if there are other matches that I feel real compelled to kind of talk about. Murray played a great match against Goffin, but then he lost to Rublev. But it's really encouraging, to be honest. Even against Rublev, he played a great match. So hopefully Murray can build up his form and have one more good run or one more good win. It was really straightforward against Goffin. Really straightforward, straight sets. Goffin didn't play great, but Murray was just phenomenal. Lost just 9 points on serve in the entire match. Didn't face a single break point. 11 winners to 8 errors. Just composed, consistent, measured aggression. Confident with the forehand, creating lots of angles. So Murray was good. Hopefully Murray can kind of pick it up. But yeah, that's kind of what Indian Wells has been to this point so far. As I record this, I'll just look at the scores that are kind of going on at the moment. Monfils is at 3-3 in the third set against Cam Norrie, so I'll keep an eye on that. Paul versus Humbert. Tommy Paul took the first set versus Humbert. That's a interesting thing to happen there. Tommy Paul is great on hard courts. He loves hard court masters as well. And yeah, let's see how he can do. The home crowd advantage as well. Rune beat Musetti 6-2, 7-6. Musetti, like I said, not really in his best form, but good for him to even reach the third round. Had a pretty good draw for it. So, but yeah, Rune. Let's see how Rune does on the outdoor hard courts where he needs to pick up a little bit in confidence. And Monfils 3-3 versus Norrie in that second set. By the way, Raducanu and Sabalenka. Raducanu currently has a break point at 4-3 in the second set. That one's actually looking pretty close by scoreline. So I'll watch a little bit of that. And also keep an eye on the other matches like Gil Monfils, because I think Monfils is a dark horse. I said that at the start of the tournament. I still stick by it. I actually picked him to the 4th round. I picked him beating Hurkacz. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm happy with my predictions so far. I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Anthony's Tennis Hub for more videos, more stuff on Indian Wells, and a lot of other tennis stuff as well. Don't forget to like the video as well if you did enjoy it. I'll be here to talk more Indian Wells. I'll be here with a podcast next week as well, or later in this week. And I'll try to have a podcast out this Friday as well, and then I'll do separate videos, hopefully covering the semis and then the finals as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the next one.